Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 113, recorded on the 4th of May 2024, released on the 7th of May 2024, and I'm starting to review a new series now, because in the last episode I reviewed Across the Spider-Verse, and then the episodes before we had The Boys Diabolical with the Doctor Who Season 1 preview in between. But yeah, so next up I will be reviewing X-Men 97, so it'll be all 10 episodes of Season 1. I can't remember if it has been confirmed as a Season 2, I'm pretty sure there has been. But yeah, there will be previews for Space Babies and the Devil's Cord in between, and potentially the reviews for those episodes as well. But yes, so I just thought it'd be nice to do X-Men 97. So before I get into my review of episode 1, which I will do shortly, X-Men 97 is a continuation from the 1990s X-Men series, which I was not born yet, so I didn't watch it, but I didn't feel lost with any of it. But so yeah, because with it being Marvel, I thought, okay, I might watch that, and then I can't remember what convinced me to watch it. I think I saw that it was all good reviews or something. I can't remember. Anyway, here is my review of X-Men 97, Episode 1, titled To Me, My X-Men. We have the title sequence, which is brilliant, by the way. We know that Professor Charles Xavier is dead. A mutant is kidnapped. The X-Men fight the kidnappers. Cyclops is captured. Cyclops confronts Gambit about not helping him. Storm and Bishop. The kidnapped mutant now lives with the X-Men. Beast introduces himself to the kidnapped mutant. The kidnapped mutant's name is Roberto. Storm questions Roberto. Jubilee introduces Roberto to Magneto. Wolverine attacks Roberto. Jean Grey gives Cyclops some advice. Jean Grey is pregnant. Jean wants to leave the X-Men. Roberto has disappeared. Wolverine confronts Cyclops. Rogue and Gambit seem to be dating. Them, along with Jubilee and Wolverine, are looking for Roberto. Wolverine learns that Jean wants to leave the X-Men. Jubilee finds Roberto. Cyclops and Storm speak to Charles's murderer. Jean infiltrates herself into the murderer's mind. The X-Men have an approximate location for the person they are looking for. The X-Men's ship explodes. Yes. The X-Men find the person they're looking for. The X-Men fight several robots. Beast gains control of one of the robots. The X-Men get the person that they were looking for arrested. Jubilee tells Roberto about her first day with the X-Men. Roberto reveals his powers to Jubilee. The X-Men re-encounter Magneto, and Magneto reveals that Charles left all of his life's work, including the X-Men, to him. That is my review of X-Men 97, To Me, My X-Men, which was part of a 2-episode preview, premiere even, not preview. It's because I've got the list of all the episodes. 2-episode premiere, so I'll be reviewing X-Men 97 episode 2 tomorrow, and then after that we'll have the previews for Space Babies and the Devil's Cord, and then we'll be straight back to X-Men 97. So similar to The Boys Diabolical, slightly differently though, but because it's got fight scenes, it's very hard to describe them. So yes, that's why these reviews are a bit shorter in comparison to something like Doctor Who or Neighbours. or any movie actually, but that's due to length, isn't it? So let me know in the comments below what you thought of X-Men 97, To Me My X-Men, if you watched it, my review if you didn't. And remember, you can also put any reviews, so TV or movie suggestions, put those in the comments below. But you can also like, comment and subscribe, and that's it for the Everything Podcast Season 3 episode 113. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 114, recorded on the 4th of May 2024, released on the 8th of May 2024, and in this episode I'm reviewing X-Men 97, Episode 2, titled Mutant Liberation Begins. So, yes, in yesterday's episode I reviewed X-Men 97, Episode 1, titled To Me My X-Men. So without further ado, here is my review of X-Men 97, Episode 2, titled Mutant Liberation Begins. We have a previously recap and the title sequence. Magneto saves some people, some mutants are captured. Magneto sets free these captured mutants. The X-Men question Charles, leaving the X-Men to Magneto. Cyclops is angry at Magneto being in charge of the X-Men. Jean expresses her hope for her and Cyclops' son to be human to Storm. Magneto explains his and Charles's relationship to Rogue. Magneto knows that Rogue has a secret that none of the other X-Men know about. An army is wanting to capture Magneto. Magneto mind controls some helicopters. Magneto accepts being arrested and having a trial. Magneto's trial takes place. Jean is about to give birth, with Wolverine getting her to the hospital. The X-Men fight some protesters. Cyclops is beaten up. Cyclops and a Rogue join Jean and Wolverine at the hospital. Storm sacrifices her powers to save Magneto. Magneto kidnaps some people. Magneto spares the lives of these people. Jen and Cyclops' son Nathan is born. Magneto has been pardoned for his previous villainous actions. Beast informs Storm that she seems to have lost her powers permanently. Storm writes a letter to Jean. Jean reads out Storm's letters to the other X-Men, and another Jean reunites with the X-Men. That is my review of X-Men 97, Episode 2, titled Mutant Liberation Begins. So the next couple of episodes are not going to be X-Men 97 reviews, they're going to be previews for Doctor Who Season 1 with Space Babies and The Devil's Cord, so episodes 1 and 2, previews coming in the next couple of episodes because they will be releasing should be 3 days time, I think. Yeah, but then, so 3 days time I'll be continuing reviewing X-Men 97. So let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 Mutant Liberation Begins if you watched it. My review, if you didn't, remember you can also suggest any TV show or movie suggestions. Do that in the comments below. You can also like, comment and subscribe. And that's it for the Everything Podcast Season 3 Episode 114. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 117, recorded on the 4th of May 2024, released on the 11th of May 2024. And in this episode, I'm reviewing X-Men 97, Episode 3, titled Fire Made Flesh. Without further ado, here is my review of Fire Made Flesh, X-Men 97, Episode 3. We have the previously recap and the title sequence. Jean attempts to read the mind of the Jean who showed up at the end of the last episode, being episode 2, titled Mutual Liberation Begins. Or Mutants, I can't remember, whatever the title of episode 2 was. Beast informs the other X-Men that the Jean that gave birth to Nathan is a clone, and the Jean they recently met is the original Jean Grey. Clone Jean disputes that she is a clone. Clone Jean consoles Nathan. Beast works out who cloned Jean. Jean's cloner is Mr. Sinister. Clone Jean realizes that she's a clone. Clone Jean gets possessed by Mr. Sinister. The X-Men are attacked by various creatures. Bishop destroys all of these creatures. The real Jean saves the X-Men and collapses. Clone Jean introduces herself as the Goblin Queen. The X-Men explain who Mr. Sinister is to Roberto. Clone Jean gives Nathan to Mr. Sinister. Clone Jean possesses Morph. Clone Jean also possesses Cyclops. Wolverine comforts the real Jean. The real Jean remembers who Wolverine is. The real Jean realizes that Cyclops is in trouble. The real Jean uses her powers to distract Clone Jean. Real Jean reminds Clone Jean about meeting Charles. Real Jean remembers losing her best friend. The Jeans fight. Clone Jean fights Mr. Sinister's control. Cyclops and Clone Jean attempt to save Nathan. Mr. Sinister makes Nathan ill. Beast finds out that Nathan has a virus. Clone Jean and Cyclops sacrifice their time with Nathan to save his life. Clone Jean says goodbye to Nathan. The Jeans talk to each other about their lost memories. Clone Jean leaves the X-Men and Storm is offered a way to regain her powers. That is my review of X-Men 97, Episode 3, titled Fire Made Flesh. So yes, it's been a couple of days since I reviewed episode 2, so over the last couple of days I've been previewing Doctor Who Season 1, episodes 1 and 2, titled Space Babies and the Devil's Call respectively, with those episodes having been released as of now. So yes, and in tomorrow's episode I'll be reviewing X-Men 97, episode 4, and then will be coming the reviews of Space Babies and the Devil's Call on the days after that. But in the comments below, let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 Fire Made Flesh if you watched it, my review if you didn't. And remember, you can also put any review suggestions, so it could be a TV show or a movie, in the comments below. And you can also like, comment and subscribe. And that's it for the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 117. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 118, recorded on the 4th of May 2024, released on the 12th of May 2024, and in this episode I'm going to review X-Men 97, Episode 4, titled Montendo / Life Death Part 1. So without further ado, here's my review for that episode. We have a previously recap and the title sequence. The X-Men have a team meeting. Today is Jubilee's 18th birthday. Jubilee talks to Roberto about all her worries. Jubilee and Roberto are transported into a video game. A robot kidnaps Roberto. Jubilee saves Roberto from the robot. Roberto and Jubilee are transported again. Jubilee and Roberto are being shot at. Jubilee realizes she and Roberto are in a video game. The person who transported Roberto and Jubilee did it for entertainment purposes. The transporter reveals his plan to Jubilee and Roberto. Roberto and Jubilee are forced to participate. Jubilee and Roberto take part in multiple levels. Roberto reminds Jubilee that the video game isn't real life. Roberto dies. Roberto is brought back to life. Jubilee and Roberto are saved. The person that saved Roberto and Jubilee is an older version of Jubilee. Older Jubilee gives younger Jubilee some advice. The two Jubilees and Roberto fight their transporter. Roberto and Jubilee return to real life. Jubilee and Roberto kiss. Storm's new friend is called Forge. Forge can invent anything. Forge and Storm eat. Storm and Forge race their horses against each other. Forge is trying to help Storm regain her powers. Storm is unable to regain her powers. Forge invented the machine that made Storm lose her powers. Storm slaps Forge, and a bird bite Forge and kidnap Storm. And that is it for my review of X-Men 97, Episode 4, titled Monturno / Death Part 1. So, coming up in the next couple of episodes, I'll be reviewing Space Babies and The Devil's Cord, which are Doctor Who Season 1, Episode 1 and 2. And then I'll be previewing Episode 3, titled Boom, and then more reviews coming on the way. So let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 Monturno / Life Death Part 1 if you watched it. My review, if you didn't remember, you could do those in the comments below, as well as suggesting any reviews. It could be a TV show, it could be a movie. And remember, you can also like, comment and subscribe. And that's it for the Everything Podcast Season 3, Episode 118. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast. Welcome back, or welcome, depends upon if you're the first. I'm not going to do episode numbers anymore because of what I've talked about recently, of doing the animated and non-animated episodes. Then it'd be too big of a number, so I was like, okay, just going to call it the Everything Podcast now. And yes, so in this episode I'll be reviewing X-Men 97 episode 5. But before I get to that, I would like to say thank you to anyone who has commented recently for any review suggestions. They are on the way, but it's going to take a little while. But yes, so without further ado, here's my review of X-Men 97 episode 5, titled Remember It. We have the previously recap and the title sequence. Beast participates in an interview. Magneto, Gambit and Rogue arrive in Genosha. They reunite with the Jean that left the X-Men to live her own life. Rogue and Gambit reunite with a mutant. Gambit and Rogue are given a tour of Genosha. This includes watching a concert. The mutant gives Gambit some advice. Cyclops takes part in an interview. Jean tells Wolverine about her memories with Cyclops. Jean and Wolverine kiss. Magneto is asked to be king of Genosha. Magneto remembers talking to Charles about the X-Men. Magneto accepts being king of Genosha on the condition the queen of Genosha is Rogue. Oh no, I've read that wrong. I've skipped a bit. Reverse. Jean and Wolverine kiss. Yes, Magneto is asked to be king of Genosha. Magneto remembers talking to Charles about the X-Men. Magneto accepts being king of Genosha on the condition that the queen of Genosha is Rogue. Cyclops and Jean kiss. This seems to take place in a dream. Cyclops and Jean have an argument. about Cyclops and Clone Jean's relationship. Rogue tells Gambit about how she met Magneto. Gambit and Rogue agree to stay friends. Rogue accepts being Queen of Genosha. Magneto and Rogue dance along with other mutants. Rogue and Magneto kiss. Genosha is under attack. It's not the easiest planet to say. A mutant sacrificed himself to save Magneto and Rogue. Gambit, Rogue and Magneto try to save as many mutants as possible. Gambit dies and Magneto dies. That is my review of X-Men 97 episode 5, titled Remember It. So I'll be continuing looking at X-Men 97 in the next episode, where I'll be reviewing episode 6. Without further ado, that's it for this episode. So let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 episode 5. If you watched it, my review. If you didn't, you can do that in the comments below, as well as if you would any review suggestions, TV shows or movies, put them in the comments below as well. Remember, you can like, comment and subscribe. And that's it for the Everything Podcast, today's episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in this episode I'm be reviewing X-Men 97 episode 6. Spoiler warning, as always. All of my reviews are spoilers, because otherwise I wouldn't have anything to speak about. So without further ado, here's my review for X-Men 97 episode 6. We start off with the previously recap and the title sequence. Multiple spaceships explode. Charles is alive and is planning on marrying someone. Charles wants to return to Earth and reunite with the X-Men. Storm attempts to save Forge. A bird tries to convince Storm to not try and save Forge. Forge saves Storm. Forge banishes this bird. Forge collapses. Charles' soon-to-be wife's sister proposes that for Charles to show his allegiance to this planet, that he has to forget all of his memories on Earth, which includes the X-Men. Charles and his soon-to-be wife discuss this proposal. This planet's people fight with each other over Charles choosing to not forget the X-Men. Charles uses his mind to stop the fighting. Storm re-encounters the bird. Storm regains her powers. Storm saves Forge's life. Storm finds out about the events of the last episode. Charles chooses to return to Earth, and Mr. Sinister returns. That is it for my review of X-Men 97 episode 6. So just a quick channel update. Over the next couple of episodes I'll be reviewing X-Men 97, so I will do episodes 7, 8 and 9, and then there'll be a couple of reviews before the finale of episode 10, just purely because episode 10 isn't out when I'm recording those episodes. So let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 episode 6 in the comments below. If you watched it, my review did it, as I've just mentioned, you can do that in the comments below. With any TV show or movie review suggestions, you can do all of those in the comments below. Remember, you can also like, comment and subscribe. That's it for today's episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in this episode I'm reviewing episode 7 of X-Men 97. There will be spoilers, so here is your spoiler warning. So without further ado, here is my spoiler review of X-Men 97, episode 7. Enjoy. We have the previously recap and the title sequence. The X-Men attend Gambit's funeral. Rogue is the only X-Men to not attend Gambit's funeral. Rogue fights some soldiers. Rogue enters a building through the roof. Rogue confronts and threatens one of the soldiers. Cyclops talks to a politician about saving more people. The X-Men land on Genosha. Beast comforts a woman. Cyclops issues an order to the X-Men. Rogue meets Captain America. Rogue steals Captain America's shield. Jubilee attempts to convince Roberto to tell his mum about his powers. Rogue uses her powers to threaten a villain. Jean and Cyclops have a conversation about Jean's past. Charles's murderer tells the X-Men about him joining forces with Mr. Sinister, with the destruction of Genosha not part of this partnership. Roberto tells his mother that he has powers. Jubilee introduces herself to Roberto's mother. Rogue talks to Nightcrawler about her grief. Nightcrawler consoles Rogue. Charles's murderer is suffocated. The X-Men save someone from ending their life. Rogue then throws this person to their death. Rogue explains herself to the X-Men. This person is now under the control of Mr. Sinister. The X-Men fight this being. Cable saves the X-Men. Mr. Sinister's lair is revealed. Mr. Sinister discovers that Charles is alive and Magneto is alive. That is it for my review of X-Men 97 episode 7. So as I mentioned in the last episode, we've got episodes 8 and 9, so whenever this is releasing, tomorrow will be episode 8 and in 2 days time will be episode 9. Then there'll be a few reviews, I would imagine 1 or 2, maybe even 3 before the finale of X-Men 97 season 1, because I'm pretty sure a season 2 is confirmed. And then episode 10, and then So let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 episode 7 in the comments if you watched it. My review, if you didn't, as I've just said, you can do those things in the comments below, as well as any TV show or movie suggestions, review suggestions. Put those in the comments below as well. Remember to also like, comment and subscribe. And that's it for today's episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in today's episode I am going to be reviewing X-Men 97 episode 8. This episode will contain spoilers, as do pretty much all of the episodes anyway. Without further ado, here is my spoiler review of X-Men 97 episode 8. We have the previous recap and the fantastic title sequence. Cyclops and Jean talk about Cable being a future version of Nathan. Nathan informs the X-Men what they are truly up against. Beast explains what an absolute point is. Jean stops Cyclops and Nathan from arguing. The X-Men learn that Charles is alive. Jean talks to Nightcrawler about her clone's memories. Nightcrawler tells Jean about meeting Rogue. The head of the UN apologises to Magneto. A reporter apologises to Beast. The head of the UN seems to be working with Magneto's kidnappers to eradicate all mutants. Nathan, Cyclops and Jean talk to a villain's mother. Roberto and Jubilee are out shopping. Some humans turn evil and attack the X-Men. The X-Men fight back. Roberto saves Jubilee. Cyclops, Jean and Nathan survive by turning their ship into a car. Roberto and Jubilee crash land at his mother's party. The head of the UN releases Magneto from his prison. Spider-Man appears and Charles reunites with the X-Men. That is it for my review of X-Men 97 episode 8. So in the comments below, let me know what you thought about this episode. If you watched it, my review. If you didn't, you could do those in the comments below, as well as any TV show or movie suggestions you would like me to cover. And remember, you can also like, comment, and subscribe. And that's it for today's episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in this episode I'll be reviewing X-Men 97 episode 9, the penultimate episode of season 1 of X-Men 97, with the final episode of season 1 episode 10 not being released yet, so obviously that won't be coming out tomorrow because it will probably be out when you're seeing this, I'd imagine, but not when I'm recording this. But it's only a couple of days, it's only 3 days away, so that'll be coming very soon. With comparison, like, there'll be a very significant difference between the release date of episode 1 and my review coming out, and with episode 10. So without further ado, that's about episode 10, but that's not what I'm here to talk about because it's not out yet. I'm here to talk about X-Men 97 episode 9. Spoiler warning for this episode, but this is my review of X-Men 97 episode 9. Enjoy. We have the previously recap and the fabulous, as always, title sequence. Jubilee and Roberto are cornered by protesters. The X-Men house has been destroyed. Storm and Forge come to the aid of Roberto and Jubilee. Charles explains why he left the X-Men house to Magneto, to Cyclops and Jean. Nightcrawler checks in on Rogue. Jean reunites with Storm. Beast reunites with Forge. The X-Men hatch a plan to find Magneto and convince him to do the right thing. Charles gives Wolverine some advice. Forge and Beast fill in Storm. Charles and Rogue talk about Gambit. Charles apologizes to Rogue. Magneto returns to the X-Men house. Charles confronts Magneto. Rogue aligns herself with Magneto, as does Roberto. Cyclops asks Nathan to trust Jean. Charles tries to convince the President of the United States to not engage with Magneto. The X-Men have new suits. The X-Men fight the Senators. Jean re-encounters and fights Mr. Sinister. Wolverine fights Magneto. Jubilee and Roberto fight. Storm is shot. Nathan repeatedly shoots at Jean. Charles begs Magneto to stop, and Magneto ignores this. That is it for my review of X-Men 97 episode 9. So as I mentioned at the start of this episode, the season 1 finale of X-Men 97, my review for it, won't be coming out tomorrow from when you see this. It will be in a couple of days' time. Let's keep an eye out for that. But actually tomorrow I am going to be doing some of your movie suggestions. Review suggestions, so that's what to look forward to. So let me know what you thought about X-Men 97 episode 9 in the comments below if you watched it, my review if you didn't, and remember, and as I've just mentioned with tomorrow's episode, if you also in the comments below put down any TV show or movie suggestions that you would like me to cover. But without further ado, and also like, comment and subscribe. And without further ado, that's it for today's episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye. Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in today's episode I'm going to be talking about the X-Men 97 Season 1 finale, which is Season 1 Episode 10. So yes, obviously it's a different format to my other X-Men 97 reviews, and that's because I've changed the format of the episode so I can get longer episodes out and more content out as well. So that's kind of why. But before I get to my review and the cast list for this episode of X-Men 97, it's time for the trailer of X-Men 97. Here it is. I think there we go.
You were my first students, my family. I wanted you to be free. Help build a world where mutants could live however they wish, safe and without fear. My X-Men. We have to be strong for the team. For every mutant still out there, they need hope.
Let us do what we do. Believe in each other.
Charles Xavier entrusted me with his dream. Everything he built. Everything he fought for. Now belongs to me. My X-Men.
Almost forgot.
Oh, am I going to war or a circus?
What'd you expect? Black leather?
That was the trailer for X-Men 97. Next up, I will be going through the cast list for X-Men 97. Season 1 in general, actually, because there's no differences. But yes, oh no, no. But I've just closed. I didn't realise that I'd closed the document. I thought I still had it open, which is a bit annoying. So just bear with me a second. There we go. It wouldn't be a podcast episode if there wasn't some kind of technical thing. But yes, so that was the trailer for X-Men 97. It stars Ray Chase as Scott Summers and Cyclops, Jennifer Hale as Jean Grey, Alison Selly Smith as Storm and Aurora Monroe, Cal Dodd as Logan and Wolverine, J.P. Kaliak as Morph, uh, Lenore Zan as Rogue, George Boozer as Dr. Henry Hank McCoy Beast, A.J. Lukosco as Remy Libu and Gambit, Holly Chu as Jubilee and Jubilee, Isaac Robinson Smith as Lucas Bishop, Matthew Waterson as Eric Magnus Lyncher and Magneto, Ross McQuinn as Professor Charles Xavier, and Adrian Hugh as Cute Warner and Nightcrawler. The writers of X-Men 97 Season 1 Episode 10, the finale, is Bew DeMayo and Anthony Salitti. The director is Chase Conley. The synopsis for this episode is that the X-Men's dream is put to the test as mutant human relations reach a tipping point. The release date for this episode was the 15th of May 2024, so probably about a week between when this was released and when you'll be seeing this, because I'm recording this a couple of days after um, X-Men 97 episode 10 was released. But yeah, obviously it's going to take a couple of days. So yeah, my opinion on this episode is I love the season as a whole. I didn't watch the series X-Men 97 is a sequel to, I think it's called X-Men the Animated Series, because I wasn't born when it came out. And I didn't feel that I was left out of the loop. And I love that the finale was a three-parter. And I like that the episode ended with a to be continued, which obviously confirms a season 2 of X-Men 97, which we kind of expect anyway. Without further ado, here is my review of X-Men 97. We have the previously recap and the title sequence, which is amazing, by the way. A flashback scene featuring Charles and Magneto is shown. In this scene, Charles reveals to Magneto that he is a mutant. Uh, Magneto does the same to Charles. This scene isn't actually a flashback. Instead, this scene takes place inside Magneto's mind. Charles attacks Magneto. Iron Man, Captain America, and Daredevil appear. Quite cool. Um, Mr. Sinister has captured some of the X-Men. Bastion strangles Storm. Bastion plans on killing Nathan. Jean saves Nathan and the captured X-Men. Jean causes Mr. Sinister to to return to his rightful age. Jean refers to Nathan as her son. Bastion attacks Nathan and reveals he is the one behind Genosha being destroyed, as well as killing Nathan's mother. Charles communicates with Jean and Cyclops. Rogue and Roberto fight Bastion. Another scene takes place in Magneto's mind. Nightcrawler, Jubilee, and Cyclops fight Bastion. The rest of the X-Men control the Sentinel to reunite with Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee. Several missiles explode in the X-Men's current location. Roberto saves Jubilee. Forge loses communication with Storm. Cyclops shows Nathan his real eyes. Charles and Magneto remember who each other are. Magneto, alongside the X-Men, saves Earth. The X-Men are presumed dead. Forge points a gun at Bishop. Rogue is in 3000 BC, as is Nightcrawler, Charles, Magneto, and Beast. Cyclops. What was that with that pronunciation? Cyclops is in 3960 AD, so what's that? Nearly 2000 years in our future, as is Jean and Nathan. That is it for my review of X-Men Season 1, Episode 10, which is the finale for Season 1. So obviously there won't be any X-Men 97 reviews for a while. Well, the next one, because I've covered all of Season 1, will be when Season 2 comes out, which could be later this year, it could be next year, it could be 2026, 2027. We don't know, but there is Comic-Con in July, so in about 2 months' time, so we might find some information there. But yes, so let me know what you thought about X-Men, the Season 1 finale of X-Men 97 in the comments below. If you watched it, my review, if you as I just said, you can do both those things with the comments below as well. Anything you want me to cover on the channel, it could be a TV show, it could be a movie, it could be anything that is it's everything. Like that's what the podcast is called. So I want to be doing and branching out a little bit more. And remember, you can also like, comment, and subscribe. And that's it for this episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.